Hello, saplings. Hi, friends. Do you remember our chapter book that we're reading? Glory Be by the author Augusta Scattergood. My favorite new last name of an author, and just love that, Scattergood. So, who remembers what glory be means? Glory be, glory be, glory be. Do you remember? It's an expression and it means great day. Gosh darn it. I'm telling you something. I'm telling you so. I'm telling you the truth. Glory be. Listen to me. And it's a book about two best friends. The narrator who tells the story, her name is Gloria. Glory. I have a friend named Glory. I love that name. Glory, Glory. And do you remember what her best friend's name is? She's been waiting for him. How long was she waiting? And what was the weather when she was waiting? What's the weather? What's the weather in chapter 1? Yeah, really hot. It is really hot. And basically, she wants to know where he's been. And do you remember what his name is? Yes, excellent, Frankie, right? And they have a nickname for him. I wouldn't call him that, and Glory doesn't call him that. Some people call him Frankfurter. Silly. But Glory calls him Frankie, and they're buddies, and there's a secret. What's the secret? Great big secret. End of the chapter. Do you remember what it is? Glory waited. Frankie was late. He got there, snuck through the backyard. We talked about that. Glory was worried her friend would have already left. They head to the pool and what's wrong? Yes, the pool's closed, and Glory says, what are you talking about? Your dad told you something? And what do you mean? What did your dad tell you? And it's a secret. So I wonder if in chapter 2 we're gonna find out why the pool is closed. Take a look at this. Chapter 2, spying. Look at that. See the announcement that they put up? Spying. Do you know what spying means? You know what spying means? It means when you peek and you get information, but you don't let people know that you're watching. So you're looking to see, but you hide so no one sees you're seeing. That's spying. Chapter 2, spying. And this is the announcement that was posted about the community pool. Let's hear it. Hanging Moss Community Pool rules. Number 1, open at 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Everyone's welcome, of course. And number 2, no one under the age of 12 allowed in without supervision. And number 3, no horseplay. What's horseplay, saplings, darlings, friends? Horseplay is playing around, roughhousing, running. Safety first. Same rule at their pool as here. Well, that didn't say anything about a secret, and that didn't say anything about why they closed. See there, Frankie? Your daddy doesn't know everything. Still open. I read the sign on the fence gate for the umpteenth time. You suppose I'll ever change that rule that makes my bossy big sister in charge? Jessalyn can't swim half as good as me. Just because she's 14 and I'm only 11, what difference does it make? It's a fair question. If Gloria's a better swimmer, then Gloria's a better swimmer. I mean, we talk about that all the time, boys and girls. How many years you've been alive doesn't necessarily correspond with how well you do or do not do certain things, and that's her point. You know, Glory, nobody has to know how old you are. You can sneak in, Frankie said. He looked around to see if anybody was watching, like me, you know. Not hardly, since my daddy's been the preacher at First Fellowship United Church for my whole entire lifetime. Half the people in this town know how old I am. We found out a very important piece of information about Glory. We found out what her daddy does, what her daddy's work is. Can you remember what they said? Yes, yes, yes. Quality clapping, great. Glory's daddy is a preacher. A preacher is a pastor, like a pastor or a minister, someone who leads a church of people who believe the same things and helps support that community the way that church believes love works and supports those things. Being a preacher's daughter ain't no walk in the parade at Macy's. It's hard. Did you hear what she said? She said, my whole life I've been a preacher's daughter. Everybody knows who I am. Everybody knows how old I am. It's not like I have any secrets or I could sneak in, Frankie. I untangled a quarter from my bathing cap and dropped it on the signing table. Let's go, I said, and followed Frankie to our special place near the back fence. We sat down on the grass. I flipped my tennis shoes to the side of my towel and I looked out at the pool. 8 ladies floated on their backs in a big circle, one foot in the air, then another, kicking away to some older than the hill song blasting from the loudspeaker. Ladies are floating on their backs in a big circle. They're in a big circle and they're floating on their backs. And they're moving at the same time. Do you know what that is? That's water ballet. Water ballet or synchronized swimming is pretty to look at, but it's a little confusing, and I'm not exactly sure if Gloria likes it or not, but I can remember doing water ballet. Do you do water ballet? Those 8 ladies floated their backs in a big circle, and then they put one foot up in the air, and then they put the other foot up in the air, kicking away this way and that way and doing everything at the same time. Just a kicking away to some older than the hill song blasting from the loudspeaker. Look at that. The Esters. Hogging the pool again, Jessalyn says. Mrs. Simpson named them after a movie star, you know. My brother says old lady Simpson acts like she's the boss of Community Pool. Frankie put his Archie funny book down and nodded toward the swimmers. Do you know what Archie funny book? Do you know what that is? A funny book is another word for comic. So it's an Archie's comic. It's a very classic in the canon of comics, one of the first very popular comics. It's an old comic. Archie. My brother says old lady Simpson acts like she's the boss of Community Pool. Frankie put his Archie funny book down, that Archie comic book, put it right down, nodded toward the swimmers. All those ladies have green hair, you know. Before he could quote his 5th grade science book about why chlorine turns hair green, I yelled, "Last one in is a monkey's uncle," and I jumped. Frankie set his glasses in his shoe for safekeeping. He took off the back and gold lanyard with the whistle hanging from it and laid it on top of his towel. It was very smart of Frankie, really, to take good care of his things, and he knew where it would be. Good job, quality clap there, Frankie, taking care of your business. Then Frankie fiddled with his swim goggles and fastened on his pink plastic nose clip. You ever seen anyone wear a nose clip? It's so water doesn't get in your nose. It's a little thing, kind of like a very soft paper clip or clothespin. I guess Frankie doesn't like water in his nose. Makes him feel better, and that's good, and he should use it. Then Frankie fiddled with his nose clip a little bit more, and finally, he slid into the pool feet first. I dived in the deep end and flutter kicked over to Jessalyn, then climbed up the ladder. Well, I got out of the pool and I stood close enough to drip on her. "Hey, sis, I'm here." Okay, so Glory and Jessalyn are sisters. Now, who's older? That's right. Jessalyn is older. She's 14, but who's the better swimmer according to Glory? Glory, according to Glory, is the better swimmer. Do you remember how old Glory is? Well, she was talking about her 12th birthday, remember? But then it also said something about her being 11, so I don't know if she's had that birthday yet. Wait a minute. Wait. Her birthday is on a Independence Day, when America celebrates its freedom. It's in July. July what? Yeah! She'll be 12 on July 4th. She's still 11 then. "Hey, sis, I'm here." Jessalyn turned from her pep squad friends. "I see you. Please move. You're blocking my sun." She slathered baby oil on her arm. "Oh, this is an old story. Boys and girls slathered baby oil on her skin. It is sunscreen, sunscreen. Put on some more sunscreen. Baby oil is for nobody's nothing in the sun. Sunscreen, sunscreen 50, sunscreen 75. Put some zinc on your nose. My goodness, this is back in the day. Woo! "Want a hot dog from the snack bar?" I asked. "I'll get you one." "And French fries?" Jessalyn looked at me like I'd offered her liver and onions. "Last summer, my sister taught me to hold my breath and swim the entire length of the pool underwater. Back then, we sat on the same big towel while she painted my toenails pink. Not this summer. This summer, Jessalyn is fed up with me." I wonder why. Why? Well, what do you think could make a sister fed up with another sister? Do you ever get fed up with your siblings? I cannonball back in. You know what a cannonball is? It's when you scrunch up like you're in a yoga position, you're hugging yourself and you're tucking yourself and you jump in and you're like a stone. And it's a great big old splash. Cannonball back in, splashing Jessalyn and her snippy friends. When I got out, I headed for my towel. Come on, Frankie, I told him. We got us some spying to do. Even underneath our favorite shade tree, it was so hot you could barely breathe. I mean, it's hot. Even though they're at the swimming pool, they've got some spying to do. There's a secret. Now the pool's open, but don't forget Frankie's dad said something about maybe they were gonna close it. They're gonna spy, see what they can find out. Hot out though, man. It is a hot day. So hot you could hardly breathe. But when Jessalyn and her friends started whispering, and words like, cute boy, football player, and two-piece bathing suit, drifted my way, I scooted my towel out from under the tree to get closer. They're spilling tea. Glory wants to hear the gossip. They gossiped about her friend Mary Louise's party and talked about some new boy in town that Jocelyn seemed real interested in. The way those girls were studying their fancy colored toenails, you would have thought they were paintings hanging in a museum instead of their little digits, their little toes. They're just toes. They're not, Salvador Dali. When Frankie's brother, G.T. Smith, okay, so we know Glory has a sister. Glory and who are sisters? That's right. Glory and Jessalyn are sisters. Now Frankie has a brother. Frankie's brother's name, did you catch it? J.T. Smith. Frankie and J.T. are brothers. When Frankie's brother, J.T. Smith, Mr. Football Hero, showed up, the toenail studying ended quite promptly, I assure you, because they would much rather look at JT, the football star, than their own toes. And they don't want him seeing them looking at their toes like they pictures in a magazine. There he was, JT. Every single one of Jessalyn's pep squad friends started giggling. Carrying up the football player. Oh, Sacha, did you see that boy? Giggling and carrying on, even with the sun beating down. JT had his varsity leather sweater slung over his shoulders. It's hot. The cement can fry eggs. Their chocolate bars melt before they get them to their own mouths. And J.T. Smith, the football player, Frankie's brother, he's got his varsity high school sweater with the letter on it that shows he's a big old football hero. Now, he doesn't need a sweater on a hot day. So what does that tell you about JT? He wants people to look at him. Yes, he does. He likes that attention. He is a football star, and he is playing his part, and he's wearing his costume. He sure is. So there he was. JT had his varsity leather sweater slung over his shoulder. No swimming suit. I guess he was too good to go near the water. He had a toothpick hanging out of his mouth. Now, I don't personally think that's cool. It is a habit that some people are inclined to enjoy, and some people think it's kind of manly to have a toothpick kind of hanging out of your mouth. I never saw the attraction. And while you go to a pool with no swimming suit and a sweater, he just sounds like he likes himself a lot, doesn't he? There was, toothpick hanging out of his mouth, a football under his arm, a football under his arm at the swimming pool. No bathing suit, no towel, but a sweater on a hot day and a football under his arm. And the fiercest look on his face. Ooh, he's tough. He's a football big playing. Hello, I am the football. Frankie jumped up and ran over to where JT was. Maybe he thought his mean brother was going to make those boys playing Marco Polo splashing left and right under the diving board ask him to join in. Fat chance. They let Frankfurt or Smith play, even if his brother's the Hanging Moss Hornets' biggest star. Wow, we found out their school mascot, didn't we? Hanging Moss Hornets. Hanging moss is like gray, sort of leafy, kind of like a yarnish, sort of woolly, hairy grass that hangs down from trees, I guess. It's hard to say what moss is. But hanging moss hornets. Hornets, they're mean, friends. Hornets are flying insects, and like bees, they bite. But unlike bees, hornets can bite you over and over, not just once like a bumblebee. So that is a very interesting football team he plays for. JT is the star of the Hanging Moss Hornets, the biggest star indeed. You girls better enjoy this while you can, JT nodded toward the pool. He was grinning bigger than a cat trapping a mouse. By next week, it's gonna be closed. Jesslyn propped herself up on her elbows to look out at the turquoise water. Closed? She's looking at that turquoise water. JT, closed in the middle of the summer? You don't know what you're talking about, JT. When I heard that, I couldn't stop myself. I mean, she said something derogatory, unkind, uncelebratory. She didn't say, oh, whoa, JT, your words are my song. She said, closed? You didn't know what you're talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about, was all he said. You're not going to tell the secret. When I heard that, I couldn't stop myself. I stormed over to Jesslyn. Nobody'll close our pool. It's almost July 4th, the big parade and all. I started to say how it was also my birthday, my 12th birthday, and I'd had swimming parties here ever since I was little, but I didn't. I glared at Frankie's brother. Why are you lying about our pool? JT spit out his toothpick. All right, now, if you kind of were making up your mind about whether you thought a toothpick was good manners or not good manners, and I kind of said I never got it. Spitting anything out of your mouth, if you're not at the dentist or in your own home brushing your teeth, is very It's unacceptable. It's poor manners, and it spreads germs. That toothpick and his germs were part of the spit spray, and I wonder if he got his sweater wet. Mm. Mm, mm, mm. I ain't lying. You can blame it on them freedom workers. Those people from up north in town to help the coloreds vote and swim in our pool. We don't need outside agitators down here making up new rules. JT started to move away from us, and he was ending the conversation. Now that tells you how old this story is. This story is so old. It happened in a time in our country where we did awful things. And the color of a person's skin determined what they could do and not do, what hospital they could go to and not go to, what water fountain they could drink from and not drink from. There was a time in America, in our country, our Pledge of Allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's our pledge. We say thank you to the flag. But in America, there was not liberty and justice for all for a long time. And it was based on something that has no bearing on a person's character or ability to be a friend or intelligence or gifts and talents. It's the color of skin was how those horribly wrong laws in America happened. And Black people, people of color, were the people who were not allowed the same freedom as people with light skin. And that idea that it's shocking to you thrills me, because it is shocking and it wasn't okay. It did happen. It's important to know it happened so it won't happen again. But they're talking about closing the pool so that no one uses it. They would rather close the pool and they themselves not be able to use it than to allow Black people to use the swimming pool with them. It is as ridiculous as it sounds. I see y'all shaking your head. It makes absolutely no sense. And it is something that happened in America, and it is something that does not happen anymore. A community swimming pool is for all the people who live in that community. And it doesn't matter what color their skin is, or if they're a boy or a girl, or if they're tall or small, or large or skinny. And that's how it should be. But glory be, it's not how it was in this book. Now the time period then would be before 1968. That's a long time ago. 12 years to make it to 2000 plus 20, 32 years ago. But still, 32 years ago. It's horrible, friends. I ain't lying, and I ain't playing. JT started to move away from us. He was ending the conversation. Zeslyn followed JT toward the gate. Now I was right behind her. Her voice got so loud, 2 lifeguards looked down. Outside agitators? Do you even know what that means? Agitator is a person who starts a fight or defends a cause or marches and shares their thoughts with others, hoping to change their mind to their belief. Outside agitators, do you even know what that means? You're just using big words. Before you start saying bad stuff about people, you should find out who these so-called outside agitators really are, JT. My stomach did a belly flop. Whatever an outside agitator is, it didn't sound good. I didn't understand what they were arguing about, and I certainly hoped it didn't ruin my birthday. Well, if you want to swim next to a black person, go on ahead, JT hollered back at Zeslyn. While you're at it, why don't you just hightail it across town to swim in their crummy pool? Do you hear all that unkind language? All those words to say, I think I'm better than you because I look like me and you look like you? Well, we know that's nonsense, don't we, saplings? Thank heavens it's not the same, but we must be aware it did happen. Maybe I will go swim at their pool, Zeslyn answered quietly this time. By now, the entire pep squad was listening. What are you talking about, JT? I looked up at him, standing there smiling to beat the band. You don't know a thing. That's what you think, he answered. Then he strolled out of the pool gate like he owned the place. For a minute, everything got so still it felt like an entire hanging moss community pool was holding its breath, listening. After a while, it was swimming pool noises again. Mamas calling children, babies ignoring mamas, lifeguard whistles, radios fighting with each other to see which one could make the most racket. Everything back to normal, seemed like. I turned to Frankie. Is something broken? Is that what you meant when you said the pool might be closing to fix stuff? Like a crack in the cement? Must be a teensy crack, right? Or that fence over by our mimosa tree? It's been broken ever since I can remember. Daddy told us it was closing, he answered. My dad is on the town council, you know. Yeah, well, as the preacher at First Fellowship, any daddy knows as much as any old town council. He never said anything about this pool closing in the middle of the summer. My daddy tells me, and like I said, he would know. I kneeled down to peer into the pool water, gurgling near the drains, bobby pins, long hair, pink chewed up bubble gum, no cracks, just dirty stuff in the filter. I was trying not to care about swimming and splashing every single day for the rest of the summer in the cool water with Frankie, my one true friend, my best friend. I was trying not to think about whether it mattered that Jesslyn might be the laughing stock of Hanging Moss Community Pool for hollering at Frankie's brother, JT. I was kind of proud of her, you know. He was acting like he was a show, and he wanted to tell the news and be all important. Listening to JT talk just now, all the fun had drained right out of Community Pool. And that's the end of chapter 2 of Glory Be. And there's some really big questions to think about. Now, if this content, if the ideas in this book have you asking questions, say them out loud to the tall people around you. If you don't like this book, if your parents don't like this content, this is not for younger children. This is a book for older children. It's historical fiction, and it might not be for everybody. So please, if this isn't helpful and your family, the tall people around you that love you, think that maybe it's more for folks who are 11 and 12 like Frankie and her sweet self, Glory, that's fine. I want to put different kinds of things up so that everybody in a family might have something to pick. But the chapter book may not be one for friends who are under 6 or 7. And I'll put that in the comments. The content, however, it is our responsibility to understand and know our history as a country, as a family, as a person, because that information is data. It's like a computer. You Google something and you get the data, the information. The information about things that happened in our country during the Civil Rights Movement, before the Civil Rights Movement, and when people were not all treated the same. In America, people were not the same kind of free. That's important, and we're going to talk a lot about that. I want to remind you, asking questions is a great way to learn. Making choices about what is and isn't helpful when you're choosing your experiences with remote delivery services and remote content, and if you turn on a screen, you know you. Take care of you. Namaste.